We're on.
So, famous character I like, Huang Po, an old Zen master from China. I like him a lot because a guy who used to work as a scribe for the emperor's court, I think, or for the government, you know, one who wrote stuff down, was a follower of his, and so after a talk he'd write it down, like right away, instead of like 300 years later. And so this one segment, these monks I think are asking him a question, and I don't have the question, I just wrote down the answer. And but it had to be, so he was talking about the little dilemma of seeking, you know. So like the statement, there's another old Zen thing called faith mind, where he has a statement. There's different translations, but in this one he says you cannot use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity, you see? Now you could say the same thing in recovery, self can't get out of self. So the activity of self, trying to get out of self, which is an activity in and of itself, produces more self, you see? It's like a dilemma. It's sort of like you have a drive, but you run into a wall, and then when you back up, you run into a wall, and if you can't get out of it. Once if the basis is that you're in something, and then the drive is to get out, yeah? The in is imaginary. All you're attempting to get out does what? It reinforces the imaginary place and gives it reality, yeah? Not knowing what we are in actuality here, which is we're giving everything all the meaning it has, or we're the dreaming of the dreaming. So when we dream of an imaginary place and we take it to be so, it usually provokes, if it's sort of hostile or uncomfortable, or in Buddhism they would call it dukkha, like a vague dissatisfaction, it usually will provoke the system that has deemed it to be real to try to get out of it, yeah? And most people, that's what's driving them most of the time. And even in spirituality, that's what's driving them. It's a logical thing, yeah, there's something that's not right, yeah? But not actually getting to the exact nature of it, and then wanting to get out of that which is not right with the hopes that you'd be right if you got out of that which is not right. Not realizing that it's the whole sense of you that's not right in a weird way, yeah? So the you believes something that isn't so, or as we say in recovery, false evidence appearing real. Something is being presented to the system, through the system, false evidence, and yet in the system being in ignorance of the fact of its own role in things, right, suddenly takes false evidence to appear real. So now the false evidence that you're in a place appears real, and then the next move is there's a desire or a drive to get out. Makes total sense, yeah? I'm in somewhere that isn't comfortable. Like if there was a room, we were just in a room, and they had this, it was like a freaking, the heat was like blasting, like from these valves on the top of the ceiling. It was like suffocating. And then we get in the car, and that's suffocating. And the thing is, your reaction to it is obviously it's real because I'm real and it's affecting me. So I want to get out. So turn off the thing like that. And it makes sense, yeah, in the dreaming. But, you know, in the dreaming, that will work. Like it, but you can't apply it to the dreaming. You can't get out of the dreaming, yeah, as the dreamt, so to speak, yeah? You can get out of that hot room as the dreamt, and it makes sense. Hey, I'm uncomfortable. Where's the door? So now you look around, and then you just walk through the door, and hey, it worked, yeah? But in this situation, trying to get out of what you're not in reinforces the fallacy that you're in. The more wanting to get out, the more in it seems. Yeah? And you don't see your role in it. You actually believe that it's really in, and I want to be really out. Yeah? But in this case, you're playing on the dynamics of dreaming, and you're dreaming that this place is desperate to get out of, makes it a reality, yeah? And all of your wanting to get out of it, which seems so noble, because who wants to suffer, is being used without knowing it to reinforce the idea that you're in, yeah? So when this confronts you sometime in this life, hopefully, what's one to do? It's a very rude awakening. When you start seeing your role, not like, oh, I stepped on that guy's toe and that's why he started yelling at me, so I see my role. You know, before I would have not noticed I stepped on his toe and then he'd yell at me. I go, what the fuck? He's yelling at me, I didn't do anything. But now the camera opens up a little bit and I see my role in it, and then it makes sense. I can make an amends and then move on instead of going to jail with a fight and everything like that. Yeah, it's just simple. A little bit of lifting, I can see a whole lot, yeah? And what you usually see is your role in things. But to keep it just in the world of things and into thingness, you're missing it. You want it to go maybe past that too, so you see yourself as no thingness. And like the Course in Miracles would attempt to imply that, hey, you're giving everything all the meaning it has. That's a much bigger role than you're the guy who stepped on the guy's toe at the bar. I mean, you're giving everything all the meaning it has. Or they will get to the point of presenting it this way. Hey, you and I, the way they say it is, we're the dreamer of the dream. I believe it's dreaming only. There's no dream that ever occurs. It's just dreaming, like a verb that never ends. But let's go with, I think, what it said. It says, you and I are the dream, not you and I as you and I, but as what we are the dreaming of the dream. Yeah? Okay. I'll take, right? I'll sit with that. Let's see how it fits. Starts triggering like sort of sense-felt recognition. Hey, that explains a whole lot. You know, the one little statement. And then he goes, but we forgot that we're dreaming. That's the thing that really got me. It would be very difficult for the dreaming to forget that it's dreaming unless it wanted to forget that it's dreaming. Yeah. So how can it convince itself that it's not the dreaming by becoming identified as the dreamt, as a thing that's being dreamt, Now the dreaming forgets its role and now takes a new role on as the dreamt. And in this situation, suddenly now, everything that you've been giving all the meaning to suddenly has a newfound power, which is it can all affect you as the dreamt. It's wild, eh? So the dreaming, is giving everything all the meaning it has, but not anything it's given meaning to can't lay any meaning on it while it's dreaming. But suddenly, the dreaming now becomes able to be affected by the dreaming. By what? By how? By becoming seemingly, which means it's appearing to the dreaming to be true. It's not true. It never will be true. But at this time, and that time is a main ingredient for this seemingly so to sort of seemingly be so, right? The dreaming takes itself to be the dreamt, and suddenly everything it's dreaming, thoughts, yes, consequences in the future, things you thought happened in the past, everything you're dreaming suddenly now has the ability to affect you as the dreamt, yeah? So it's sort of like a whammy, it's like a boomerang. The dreaming throws the boomerang. While the boomerang's going this way, the dreaming seemingly becomes identified as the dreamt, and then suddenly when the boomerang's coming back, you think someone fucking threw the boomerang. And then you try to hit it, this and that. You don't see your role in being the launching pad for the boomerang. All you see is that everything's happening to me from self-centeredness. Yeah, that's how self-centeredness is. Everything it sees how it pertains to me. That's not seeing. That's a freaking interpretation. Yeah. So, all right. That's an incredible statement, isn't it? Can you imagine that? If you were sitting and spending hours and hours and hours trying to convince little Johnny that he had something to do with himself getting punched in the nose by Billy, yeah? It may take hours and hours and the kid wouldn't get it. Well, this is like way beyond there. And what happens if you start seeing that this may be true? A lot of what you and I have been taken to be true starts going under review. You start looking at it like a dog, like this. You're like, what? And then you're open suddenly for some freaking information to come down with it, because you're not in an airtight, sealed, real coffin. The skylight has been revealed, and information's flowing, and the information, it's a sense felt like energy, but it also informs you about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that at that moment you have relief from. It tells you, Jesus, those things I read that didn't make much sense make complete sense right this second. And some of them have made complete sense ever since. Yeah. Some of these things, their first time they downloaded, made complete sense. And every time I go back to that well, it makes complete sense. Yeah? To the point where it can become a last answer, which is a damn good answer here. Yeah? Because it negates all need for any other answers, at least concerning this topic. And this topic is a very influential topic, because you're getting more and more to the source of the light. Yeah? And therefore, the refraction, when you, as a lens, is really close to light, there's less fucking refraction, there's less distortion in the light. The light comes out and doesn't fracture into, all these colors. It sort of stays in a somewhat, it's clear, yeah? And so now the horse is fully established in front of the cart, yeah? And then life tends to start making a lot more sense. And then you start hearing descriptions of yourself as a verb, and it fits better than looking at your historical biography. I was born here, I did that, I'm 6'2", I blah, 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 I have scars here. That's like a two-dimensional cutout that people and you painted over. But the livingness of what you are, like you're giving everything all the meaning it has, blah, blah, blah. You're just a complete verbing, you're dreaming constantly, and with no effort or thought on your part, yeah? That you have more of a sense of, hey, that's a description of what I am, not Paul and this, yeah? And so there's a switcheroo, either quickly or slowly. You now you're here on a visa, but you're not a citizen. Yeah. You're not fucking taking the oath and pledging allegiance to this place. You're a little suspect of what's happening. And thank God, every night you go to bed, and it's as if what you've been entertaining during the day has completely, totally been vindicated by your absence for 8 hours, and then your appearance once again, as if, you're like a newbie every day. The stories, you were here and you got lines and joints hurting, but it's all fucking made up, in a lot of ways. So, this is a beautiful thing, because he's talking to this guy, so he says, I lost my train, here it is. Not to seek, so the guy's going, well, seeking, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Because anytime you share in language, there's going to be contradiction. And the language isn't important. It's the feeling that's conveyed, Like to me, it can taste like a nice, cool glass of water or whatever. You get a nice sense of quenching of a thirst you didn't even know you had, Like you really needed satsang, but you didn't know what you needed. But when you get it, you go, wow, I need to hear this every once in a while. Yeah? All right, so it goes, not to seek is to rest tranquil. Now you can take it an easier way, because, what happens is if they're seeking, you're going to think, I'm going to have to stop seeking, and that's more seeking. So maybe just go to that there is no seeker is where the tranquil rest is, yeah? It's easier in a way. Because the idea of not to seek sort of can sound like if you're in one frame of mind, it's like an order, not to seek, do not seek, you know? So now you start seeking, not to seek, it goes on and on, it's just confusing. But let's say, hey, there is no seeker. So all the meaning that has been given to you as a seeker, like maybe let's say in the beginning of spiritual practices, you as a seeker was getting a lot of reflection. You've got self-esteem, you felt better, and then you hear the boogaboo of non-duality and it's like bad, seeking bad. So now it's the same thing you've been minding to get a sense of self-esteem is now, you know, it's fucked. It tastes weird, yeah? So why not we just go, who cares about the seeking? Because this is going to seek no matter what, yeah? You're seeking, you're hoping this is over soon so you can seek whatever, yeah? So, but the idea of the seeker is purely arbitrary. There's really no evidence there is one, yeah? It's just assumed and implied and associated, all like that. So you can go there. So if you go, hey, because there is no seeker. See, that's the easiest thing. You don't have to find a seeker and make it a non-seeker. There is no seeker. There's seeking, lots of it, yeah. But there is no seeker, which is to me much quicker, much easier. Yeah, it's sort of like, let's say you have 50 problems. Do you want to go through each one of them, like a forensic unit? Or just go to who's the one who had the 50 problems? Maybe if you'd see it wasn't you that had the 50 problems, all the meaning that came from it being you with the problems that got distributed to all those problems, issued forth not from the meaning the problems had, but based in relationship to the you that you believe you are. See, the biggest problem with a problem is it's yours. That's where a lot of the meaning goes to. I know people, I've worked with them and watched them for years. They have one of these tricky patterns. They have a problem, but each problem they have, maybe they have a number of them, but at least one of them in the litter of problems is the big puppy. That one becomes the problem. And that the problem has no reference back to any other problem they've ever had, nor will they ever have. It's like the problem. It's unbelievable. And yet I've witnessed this coming forth of the problem many times. I said, what about the problem of 3 months ago? Oh no, that wasn't the problem. This is the problem. And it goes on for years. Yeah? So the biggest problem, obviously, is that vague space before the problem. What the hell's that? Because that's really where the meaning is coming from. The problem isn't giving you any meaning that it delivered itself. It's been like a package. You put the meaning into it. You forget that you did, and now the problem comes and lands the meaning on you, and then you feel like, I've had misfortune out deserved, and all this shit. Yeah, but your reaction is based on ignorance, complete ignorance. And it's not your reaction, it's the action figure. So it goes like this. And then the question was about, what is it that I need to eliminate so that this, what you're saying, this ever-present, always available state will become present and available to me? And he says, well, I would add who the hell, but he doesn't say hell. But let's say, who the hell told you to eliminate anything? That's a damn good question. Because see how it's beautifully how he pivots. Because there could be, people could read tons of books and collate all the things that need to be eliminated for the truth to become obvious to you. And they'd find maybe 500 fucking things. And then they'd have to go on a course of eliminating all of these obstructions. But he's saying, fuck that. Who the hell believes anything needs to be eliminated? That's what you want to eliminate. And the beautiful thing is, it's not there to even have to eliminate. Eliminate would be too much. You just see, if you went to a house and knocked on a door, 1,000 times and no one showed up, no one's home. Wouldn't that be the logical? Why would you? I know someone's in there. No, fucking no one's home. There's nobody there. So he goes, all right, not to seek is to rest tranquil. Who told you to eliminate anything? Look at the void in front of your eyes. What would happen then? You'd be looking at the void from the void. And hopefully sooner or later, you are the void. You're not going to be able to avoid that. Sooner or later, the voidness is going to be sensed as everything, really. Yeah? So we've been avoiding it by making void conceptual. But in fact, you're going to be cornered sooner or later where it's going to be a sense that whoosh, there's no thing, I don't stop here, you know what I mean? Or here, it says, yeah. So look at the void in front of your eyes. How can you produce it or eliminate it? Nice question. How can you produce it or eliminate it? You are it. Yeah? That which can never be eliminated can eliminate. That which can never be eliminated. It can believe it can eliminate it, but it cannot eliminate it. Yes? What does this stuff all do? Doesn't it bring a relaxedness concerning that angst of having to get something or do something or get out of something or try to get into something that will imply that I'm out of something? Wouldn't it be, and you would really know the problem from the solution. You would have some fucking stabilized relief. Yeah. And what would happen? You would not be trying not to seek, there would be not to seek. Yeah? At least on this topic, you would stop looking for what can't be found. You would, completely. And what happens? That's the tranquil rest. You don't arrive there because you never left. What happens is, your head in a way, the mental process is like a horse with blinders and a big bit. It only can think with the system, and the system is a failed system. And our reliance on it is basically the obscuring agent, because nothing could obscure the truth from the truth except the truth. The truth could seemingly obscure the truth to itself. Yeah, that's how powerful it is. It's like that thing I say, we're in the movie theater and some guy's big head is blocking the movie and you're not seeing it and this and that, and then after you finally realize it's your fucking head, you know? And as soon as you realize it's your head, you're right there, and now that head has no ability to block you from the fucking movie. It's just like the old story of, all right, here's the sun, you want to get a tan or some vitamin D. So you're predicated thinking you're a body, so you're here, and then there's this vast space, and things called clouds could come between you and the sun, and a simple ethereal little misty of water particles or molecules could block you off from the sun. Yeah? And if a cloud parked in front, you wouldn't get any sun. Yeah, the same situation, not changing anything, just the position you're seeing it from. Let's say you're looking at the same thing from the sun side. Now suddenly you see the clouds, but do they have the ability to block you off from the sun? No. Yeah. And then in a sense, did they ever? Their ability was given to them by us. The dreaming, taking itself to be the dreamt, has now given the mythical, metaphorical cloud the ability to block it from the sun. If this position changes, not the cloud positions, this position changes, suddenly The dreaming withdraws the meaning it gave to the cloud, which gave it the ability to block it from the sun, and now has reclaimed its true position of being in the sunlight, let's say, of the spirit. Though clouds appear, they suddenly now do not have the ability to obscure the sun from you, because you are the sun, so to speak, yes? Now, which is a winning formula? What's happening with people, we're not allowing mind to expand. Like we say in recovery, you know, I got struck sober, and I can only say that because I've been sober now a long time. It could have been a fleeting little fucking event that would never have been remembered if it hadn't been followed by years of sobriety. Yeah? But I was struck sober, and in hindsight, something or nothing did for me what no human power could do, like it says in the book of recovery. My mother wanted me to stop, I wanted to stop, the state wanted me to stop. There was a lot of powers that wanted me to stop drinking and using, but no power could produce it, or hadn't. And yet, on a regular day at the office, I had given up all fucking hope, I swear. What really defeated me was by being in Delancey Street for 2 years and getting better and going to college and having some self-esteem and having those people there telling me that, you know, your life as Mr. Hyde, though rather long, was over, and you're going to be Dr. Jekyll from now on, and things are going to be great for you. And I was hoping they were right, and I had a nagging suspicion they weren't. And when I left the safe confines of an institution, I went out again. And so I was totally demoralized. You know, college, everything was just worse than ever, man. And I just hit the hopelessness, really, completely. And now, the only strategy I had, truly, was to stay loaded until I could get high and wait and try to outrun the inevitable of parking at an institution jail or death. I really was like, fuck it, you know. Seriously, completely. There was not a morsel or a speck of willingness anymore. I just seemed to accepted my plight. And I was drinking myself dumb, really, at that point. Really dumb. And then something happened. Fuck, it's unbelievable. Didn't beseech anything, I didn't send a letter, didn't pray. Something just downloaded, and something was delivered. And so then I read the big book, and the big book says, hey, you know, there's a power greater than yourself that can do for you what you can't do for yourself. Hey, that sure seems like a description of what's happened here, yeah? Why would I want to keep it just as a historical, oh, it happened once that day? I'm going to expand. I'm going to let mind expand on that principle. Hey, some power can do for us what we can't do for ourselves. Yeah? Why would you want to keep that kind of solution in a conceptual closet? You'd fucking want to wear it a while, let it be a living thing, and let it expand, yeah? And it will bleed through different categories and everything like that, because they're sound principles. You've actually touched upon a power of mind. Not the mental processes, but a power of mind, or what they say in recovery, the innermost. Some aspect that you're unconscious to has been revealed. Or some, like there's a great old psychiatrist when AA started, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Harry Tebow. A guy in LA gave me a printout of one of his papers on alcoholism. And he talks about the act of surrender as an unconscious event. So the innermost, something your conscious level is not even aware of, gets the message, hey, I'm fucked. And then something changed. It was unbelievable to realize there was other radio stations I could pick up. That there was another mailbox I wasn't aware of that a lot of mail was going to, which I never knew. I didn't know that P.O. box was available. But something made it available, and you know what? Fuck. I found a way to live here, which for most people may be easy, but it was a fucking Mount Everest of an event, because this place is overwhelming to me. It was. So, why would you want to keep it as, oh, okay, really, it got me sober, and I'm going to run the show from now on? Fucking no way. Let's see what this can do if I allow it to. And so my in time, you know, the expression is cast in time because it makes good stories. I started with, you know, a higher power of my own understanding, but quickly I turned into, hey, why would I want to frame an incredible higher power with my understanding? My understanding is quite small. Let's go with, hey, how about a higher power of its own understanding? And that understanding now is going to speak of itself to me instead of me talking to it about me. Yeah? I'm going to let it download and see what happens. And Jesus Christ. Yeah. And it's a living principle. It's not dead. It's not meant on. Its purpose isn't to know why you were fucked. Its purpose isn't to be a professor of holes. Its purpose is to keep you out of holes. It's totally different. Yeah. Its purpose is to beget lightness. Yeah. Like I would feel like light begets light. And non-duality, in a sense, if you come to it this long, winding way, it either strikes you as a fact, you know, or it doesn't. And there's no big deal. It's like, put on the shoe. If the shoe fits, wear it, because it's calling you, basically. That's its calling card. If you hear about it and it seems to resonate, even though you're trying to figure it out and everything, that mere bit of resonation is probably like a fucking flare from the innermost, you know? Hoping that you'll fucking know, you know what I mean? The boat that's saving your ass is coming. You just fucking sit tight. Don't swim. You just sit there, yeah? And maybe you'll run into other people, and then you'll listen and hear, and then you'll find one that resonates for you. And let it do its magic, because it is magical, yeah? So it says, like in Course, it says, all right, this is one way it can go. Hey, you and I are the dreaming of this dream, and you know what? We're not in any rush to get out of here, so we're going to dream ourselves out of the dream, which is a beautiful statement. So you're going to use the dreaming to dream yourself out of the dreaming. So it's not like total denial of the dreaming, there is no dream. No, that doesn't work. Hey, these are dreams. This is a dream meeting. So now mind uses a dream meeting to dream itself out of the dream. Fucking far out. It's a nice way to go. Yeah? You're still cast in time, but the time is going to end. And as it does, as you get closer, the dream's going to be happier. Not just for you, but for you and others. Yeah? It'll be a win-win. And now then you start having immunity from what's not happening. Thoughts tend to can start a fire, but now your firefighting season's pretty small. Big giant fires aren't occurring that often, though the matches are still there. And it likes to strike it a lot, but maybe if like a half an acre burns before it gets put out. It just dies, lack of oxygen really. The attention and interest just can't blow it to make it a huge fucking fire, you know, apocalypse. It just doesn't have it in it anymore. It's a done deal. You're being moved out of here. And in one way or another, you're going to be used, which is so beautiful. It is really a nice, rewarding thing that I get emails from people, and I'll never meet those people probably in this life, but they've gotten a whole lot out of what we did on YouTube. And really, what more do you want as a functionality? You know? All those 10-day cocaine retreats paid off. I've seen enough of the insanity that I can have a smile about it, because it's really a mythical event. Yeah. It's truly, truly what's happening. False evidence is appearing real to what's real. And of course the dreamt would love to get out of the dream as the dreamt. Yeah. The body would love to get out of the adverse body effects, but as a body. That doesn't work. Yeah. So now you've run into the Chinese thumb torture. It's resonated. Every time you move it, it tightens up. So what's one to do? Pray for a savior. I don't know if that works. Yeah. So there you have it. So then you realize, Jesus, I've never entertained, am I truly in? All I've entertained is wanting to get out. But have I ever questioned, am I really in? Yeah. Or who is it that's in, or who is it that wants to get out? If it's not me, would I stake my whole day's attention if it was Stanley? Of course not, if I'm not Stanley. I'd rather have someone other than Stanley spend the attention and interest, yeah? It's not, the attention and interest isn't wedded to anyone, yeah? It can be directed by Stanley if the mental process convinces the mind that it's Stanley. But if it doesn't convince it, then the interest and attention is directed by something else. And you'll see beauty where there isn't any beauty. You'll see a lot of things. A whole new, what will come back to you, you never even sent it out to get anything. It just brings back things you never even were looking for. Yeah? It's because now the shopping list isn't written by you, and it doesn't listen to your directions anyway. I want you to get me a girlfriend. No, you're not. This girl brings you a lot of people who need help. Who knows what, but you start seeing, man, I love to be run by this. It's awesome. Yeah, so I feel like we attempt to talk about the ways that, let's say, budding clarity gets distorted or captured or claimed and then twisted into the exact opposite of what you were hoping for, yeah? And you can see it by what the words like enlightenment and awakening, if held by a mental process, how they're used just to torture people. Would have been better if none of us ever heard anything about it, really. Yeah? But that same awakeness, if left alone, if directed by some other power other than self-centeredness, it's beautiful. It can beget a lot of ease and comfort, which will be contagious to others, because others, all they need is a possibility, because they've been starved from possibilities. All the possibilities they've been entertaining are fucking totally manufactured in the system. They're all based on time. I will be okay. I hope it's going to get better. It's all fantasy. Yeah? But an ease and comfort now that allows you to travel lighter on this Wednesday night. You know, and Thursday morning, and Friday, and Saturday. Yeah? That's worth gold, man. If you could have a long-running stabilization of traveling lighter, you would realize over time, what more did you ever really want, man? Just to be able, because you're not getting out of the ride. Let's say we're on a ride, but we take ourselves to be, we think we're on the ride, but let's say we're a part of the ride, like the roller coaster, we're the seat, yeah? So that seat, we're taking ourselves to be a seat. We want to get off the ride, but we can't. We're a part of the ride, yeah? Wanting to get off the ride makes it even worse, because you're not going to get off and take the fucking chair with you, yeah? You see? But what would happen if, let's say, how is a car ever going to get out of a car? No, but does a passenger get out of a car? Yes, quite easily. But a car is never getting out of a car. But if the car saw itself as a passenger, or let's say saw it as not a car, what possibility would arise? Hey, I'm a passenger, I can get out. There you go. Yeah. So, thank everyone. I would do it individually, but there's too many of you here. There's too many of you to go over every name. So let me just go Bill, Steve, Mary, Louise, Jennifer, Rebecca to Rebecca. All right. Turn it off. Turn it off.